Hey guys, welcome to the show. So as I just finished recording this episode, we just got word that Achane has declared for the draft. And I wanted to address that here so that it's part of this show. It's very important, so I want to make sure it's included. But basically, he deserved to go pro. I am going to miss him, but it was probably the right thing to do for a running back. Achane was and will be forever an Aggie legend. Started with the Orange Bowl in 2020, and he had some big moments in that season, but when Spiller went down, there was absolutely no drop-off, and Achane took that game and ran and ran and ran with it, won player of the game, and we knew that we had something special. 2021, really it was running back 1A and 1B with him and Spiller. There was absolutely no drop-off the whole year. Whenever Achane would go in there, Spiller had worn the defense down, and Achane could just run all over him. And as the featured back in 2022, he just got better and better throughout the season. Two-sport athlete, just represented A&M in the totally right way, never had any off-the-field problems, was always a team guy. Just a great Aggie that, we'll always have fond memories of. Just great moments that he produced for us. I mean, that 80-yard run versus North Carolina to take the lead, or at least it was when the game was very close. And obviously the run back versus Alabama, and then the legendary game versus LSU. Just some monumental moments for the guy. And you hate to see him go, but you're happy that he's taken the next step. He will be greatly missed. Very, very fun player to watch. Thank you, Achane, for everything you've done as an Aggie. So guys, I hope you enjoy this video. If you're here and you enjoy it, please consider subscribing. I'm really trying to build the community here. I want some spice in the comment section. Even if you're not an Aggie, get in there, talk your shit, and we'll fight you back. But enjoy the video, guys. How are you handling the great transfer portal era of 2022? The first of many. It is among us. The new era of college football. I don't know if it's here to stay. I don't know if this is how college football is going to be for years to come, for the rest of our lives. I don't like it. It just seems, it seems like it fits the modern era. And by that I mean it fits kind of the instant gratification mindset that plagues a lot of people these days. And I get it. I've fallen victim to that too. Everything is so accessible at your fingertips on your cell phone, or, I feel like people are coddled these days, and I'm no exception. I'm only 28. I mean, I'm a kid growing up in this era. Everything you can get now. You want food, you can order it now. You want to look up the answers to something, a question you might have, Google it now. You want to look at a pretty girl, Google it now. You want to do anything, it's at the tips of your fingers. And that is being trained into these kids. And a lot of times they're young, they don't know what they want from life yet. They haven't had a ton of life experience, and I don't blame them for jumping into the portal, especially with NIL opportunities. I'm sure that was a huge tangent that may or may not be based in truth, and it may just be me BSing. But I do feel like instant gratification, that mindset, is a big part of why people are taking this opportunity and running with it. And like I said, I get it. You want to play. You want to play now, and you want to chase money. And I'm sure both factors are weighed into each player at a different ratio. So today, we're going to talk about the players who have declared for the portal for Texas A&M. We're going to talk about what A&M needs to target, how maybe we think as fans they should be maneuvering these next few months, as they're already into their offseason. No bowl game. Thank you very much. And just kind of get a lay of that land, this new uncharted territory that we call the transfer portal NIL era. The Wild West, if you will. So A&M has had 21 players declare for the portal so far, and that is no small number. all year we heard, well, since the App State loss pretty much, we heard the anticipation of a mass exodus coming to College Station. And people were saying, oh, Evan Stewart, he'll be gone end of the year. Connor Wegman, Walter Nolan, all the high-profile guys from that legendary 2022 class would hit the portal and run because they aren't winning under Jimbo Fisher, and Jimbo's lost the locker room. He's lost the program. Everything is bad, on fire. Exodus. And while we have seen some sort of an exodus, it has not been in that upper echelon group of players when you look at the Texas A&M depth chart. So I have a couple of visual representations, one of which is a depth chart that highlights who has entered the portal, who is at risk of going pro. We've already had a couple of guys declare to go pro, or maybe just one guy. We'll get into that in a second. We're going to look at the areas of need. And at the end, we'll discuss a couple of miscellaneous topics like the OC search, maybe a couple of, quick hitters on the landscape of college football going into bowl season. But for now, let's focus on who's leaving the Aggies, or at least trying to leave the Aggies. Because keep in mind, just because you're entering the portal doesn't mean you're gone. And a lot of these guys that have entered the portal for Texas A&M may very well be suiting up on Saturdays for Texas A&M again next season. So read into it what you will. We're going to discuss this as if every guy is gone, just for the sake of discussion, just for the sake of, filling in the gaps. Because, we need to do that as fans. But let's go ahead and look at who is in the portal. So this is in order of most recent to enter the portal. Ish Harris is the last name to go in. And today, which is Tuesday, what is it, the 5th? December 5th? What's today? Let me look at my phone. December 6th. Tuesday, December 6th, there was a notification from 247 Sports that not only Ish Harris, but Martrell Harris entered the transfer portal. And if you saw that and then went about your merry day, just know that that was an incorrect reporting. Montrell Harris has not entered the portal. Apparently, Ish Harris's name is like Montreal or something, and that name got listed into the portal. I don't really know what happened there. But just know that Montrell Harris is not in the transfer portal, though the linebacker room is still emptying out. We'll talk about it. So Ish Harris, I don't know who Ryan Campbell is. I'm guessing he's a walk-on. He's in the portal. Denver Harris is one that we all thought would be a prime candidate to enter the portal just because he's been having disciplinary troubles all year. There have been rumors and speculations from reputable sources that Denver is in big trouble with the university and perhaps would not have been welcomed back next year. Read into that what you will. I'm not going to speak on that. I'm just going to say that that is a rumor, and we'll leave it at that. He's in the portal. Terrion Lee Jr., another linebacker. We saw a little bit of him this year. Andre White, yep, that's a bit of a blow. Marcus Burris, D lineman who hasn't played too much. Donnell Harris, once medically retired, now in the transfer portal. Little weird, huh? Going from medically retired at the beginning of the year, out of nowhere seemingly, then into the transfer portal by the end of the year. Read into that what you will. I guess I'll keep saying that because there's a lot of reading into things you could do without full access to behind the scenes. We don't really know what's gone on or what's going on. We're going to go through these names here, maybe a couple notes per name, and at the end I'll kind of give my highlights, my spiels on what I think of things. Josh Moten, corner, who has reportedly been in trouble several times at Texas A&M. Most recently, there was an arrest this weekend for drunk driving involving Josh Moten. Dallas Walker, the fourth, a guy that's been around for a while, never really saw the field for any meaningful stretch of time. LJ Johnson, we mentioned it last time. It sucks. Very highly touted recruit coming in. Didn't see the field much besides a couple of plays. Throughout the year, kind of got buried behind Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels. But you wonder what came first, the chicken or the egg. Was LJ in front of them? Because he kind of did play in front of them in the first game of the year in a goal line package. So did he get in trouble, or did he have a falling out with the coaching staff or something, and then Moss and Daniels were shot in front of him? Or did he fall behind, become somewhat disgruntled? Because we did hear rumblings of behind-the-scenes issues with LJ Johnson. Regardless, he's in the portal. He's going to land somewhere and probably be pretty good somewhere. Eli Stowers, there's no question that this is a good choice for him. He's had nothing but just issues since coming to A&M, moving to tight end, moving back to quarterback. Reports of him having just a tough go of things here at A&M. He needs to pan out somewhere else, clean slate. Excited to see what he does. Adelier would be the one that I would consider the most surprising thus far. Don't know if we talked about it last video. I don't think we did. But essentially, he was going to be the strong side defensive end this year. Got hurt early in the year, maybe one of the first couple of games he got hurt. Didn't see much of him after that. I don't even know if he really got into games after that. But he was a guy you expected to become a mainstay on this defense. And after 2 years of just injury and not really being able to stay on the field, looks like he's going to go explore getting a clean slate, which you understand with the depth that Texas A&M has at D-line, which we'll look at in just a second, that you might want to go just get a clean slate somewhere else. You've kind of had a failure to launch here at Texas A&M. So, it sucks. That's a blow, but it's one that I think Texas A&M can absorb. P.J. Williams is someone we didn't see the field at all his freshman year. He's part of that legendary class. But he was one of the guys that was facing the locker room issues, got in trouble with the team, suspended, who is now in the portal. I don't know his standing with the university, so read into that what you will. Blake Smith is a guy that you can kind of see what's going on there. It's a loaded tight end room, especially amongst that 22 class. And if you're going to really want to make a name for yourself, I understand wanting to move somewhere else, get a clean slate there. Miles Jones, good luck to Miles Jones. He cannot stay healthy. I wish the best for him. He's been really good when he's been healthy, but he can't stay healthy and he can't stay on the field. Another one of those guys I understand wanted to get a clean slate. Elijah Judy, we talked about last video, and didn't see the field too much. Now, Haynes King, I don't think we talked about last video. I maybe mentioned, or I at least had speculated on Twitter that, Haynes probably should enter the portal, but he's such a team-first guy. He's a coach's son. I wouldn't have been surprised to see him try to stick it out, but I am pretty happy for Haynes King to be taking the step of entering the portal and finding greener pastures. There's probably a program where Haynes King can go and start and be really good at, some running system. Not a Jimbo system. I don't think he was ever a Jimbo system guy, which is weird because he won the starting job twice. So, I don't know. That's kind of weird to me. But I think he'll land on his feet somewhere where he can use his feet more. Brian George, yeah, the secondary is pretty stacked. And he didn't play much this year due to injuries. He was a JUCO guy coming in. He only been here a couple years. I guess there's probably greener pastures for him too. Chase Lane, the receiver room is stacked now, especially if you maintain all the young guys that played this year. And I'm including Moose in that too. If you retain everybody, it's going to be hard for Chase to really find a lot of success within this rotation, because now you have, and we'll look at, like I said, we will look at the depth chart in just a second, but just off the top of my head, you have Moose, Evan, Noah Thomas, and Chris Marshall's not on this list yet. You have him there too. And those are four guys you're going to want to see on the field a lot. And in that LSU game, we saw a lot of two tight end sets, fullback sets, only two receivers on the field. So that shortens that depth or that rotation by even more. And I totally get Chase Lane moving on. And I think he's an Aggie for life. We all love Chase Lane. Just a leader, just a great representation of his football team and of our university. Now, watch him end up, he got an offer from Mississippi State. Watch him end up at Mississippi State and just become one of those guys that just, part of that nickel and diming that Mississippi State is so good at doing to you. I could see him doing some stuff there as just a possession receiver. And then Caden Davis and Alan Guerreri. A couple of special teams guys moving on. I think our special teams are pretty secure, and Texas A&M historically has not struggled getting more of those guys. I talked about Caden. We're going to miss his big leg on kickoffs, but Randy Bond looking like a pretty good place kicker now. So those are our 21 guys in the portal, and who knows? Go ahead and check. Another name might have gotten tossed into that hat in the time I was reading those names off, because they're entering hot and fast. We're at 21 right now. Let's go ahead and look at the depth chart real quick, and then I'll give you some more thoughts. Now, this depth chart comes from Chance Bitters on Twitter. I'm going to link his Twitter in the description. I'm sure you've heard of Chance Bitters. He made this beautiful chart that illustrates the depth of the team and which players are transferring, going pro, graduating, or at risk of going pro. And I don't know how well you can read this, but you can see the categories here. The, what do you call it? It's color coordinated. It's beautiful. I love this chart. Good job, Chance. Good on you, man. It's beautiful. But I think it just really illustrates where and how the transfer portal is affecting not only Texas A&M, but I think a lot of college football, especially the programs similar to Texas A&M who recruit really well and just have talent stacked on talent stacked on talent. I think this illustrates how it's affecting you. And as you can see, the yellow is the portal loss. And if you just kind of glance at this thing, you'll see the bottom end of the depth chart is where the yellow is mostly popping up. The green is going to be your, right now we don't have any portal ads, so these are all of the commitments to Texas A&M. Obviously, none of these are set in stone because they're not signed yet, so take that with a big grain of salt. But if you can see, it's the depth where Texas A&M is losing these guys at. The exodus is happening at the bottom of the rotation. And I think there's good reason for that. By the end of the year, much of this starting unit and two-deep unit was from that 2022 class, or players that had previously made names for themselves at Texas A&M. I mean, if you just go down the list, you have Shamar Stewart, Walter Nolan, McKinley Jackson, LT Overton. Those guys are either mainstays before in Jackson, or they're part of that 22 class in Stewart, Nolan, and Overton. I mean, that's just kind of how it is at most of these positions. Tyreek Chappelle, been here a while, a lot of experience. Looks like he's not transferring. Antonio Johnson, probably going to go pro, but, you know, he's a mainstay that was playing. So if you look at just the trend of things, it's the bottom end of the depth chart, and that's no secret. I'm sure if you've been following along, if you're watching my YouTube channel, you're probably pretty hardcore, because who's watching my YouTube channel if you're not really into Texas A&M football? So yeah, that's good. That's a positive. You're retaining that 2022 class. But let me draw your attention to a couple of pretty scary areas here. Look at this scary little box right here. Texas A&M obviously runs a two linebacker system where the defensive end has kind of become more of, kind of trending to becoming more of a stand-up outside linebacker at times, but really is just kind of a weak side defensive end, an edge rusher. We run a 4-2, and at times this year we ran a 3-2. So it's a pretty small selection of linebackers that you're going to be pulling from in any given game. And a lot of them have entered the portal. And it was really scary today when the false report of Martrell, it's Martrell, right? I'm not saying it wrong the whole time, of Martrell entering the portal. That was really scary because imagine this name right here is yellow. That means you have two guys that both could go pro as your returning linebackers. And then what do? You make up for it in the portal. Maybe you get Anthony Hill back. You damn sure wouldn't have experience if that's the case. You'd have a clean slate at linebacker. And not that that's a really strong position for Texas A&M in the first place. Edge Cooper's good. Russell had a career year. But I think you still want a lot more, particularly waiting in the wings to become that star linebacker that A&M has been seeking out for years. Buddy Johnson's probably the closest thing we've had previously in the last few years. but you really want just more guys there. And I know none of the guys who have left were mainstays, big-time guys, or not left, but guys that are in the portal. They weren't world beaters, but you don't know what any of those guys could have developed into. And it kind of does suck to lose all the depth there. And you can say that as a whole for everybody who's entered the portal. Yes, it's a positive that none of the 22 class or mainstays have entered the portal, besides Tim Nisei, but he was injured all year, so does that really make him a mainstay? It sucks. I think it sucks. You're losing depth. You're losing bullets in the chamber. You got to keep shooting until you hit a target on some of these depth guys, because maybe some of them don't pan out, but maybe you had the next Antonio Johnson waiting in the wings somewhere. Maybe you had the next Isaiah Spiller waiting in the wings somewhere. I mean, you don't know. And now you'll never know if they don't come back, if they're not retained. So, I mean, you can downplay it a little bit and say that it's just the depth guys, but at the same time, it's important to retain that. And we all know that injuries can strike a football team hot and fast. We know all too well that that can happen. So it's going to be about how they make it up. It's going to be about who they retain from this portal class or this portal exiting class. I don't even know how the terminology for this fresh new era. But, yeah, it's going to be pretty important to replace some of these guys. If you look at this, the pink is the graduation. That means senior that has no eligibility left. I see 3 of them on here. 1, 2, 3. NFL potential. I see a few of those guys. Achane could be gone. Layden, I don't think he's gone. Anias, probably gone. Antonio, definitely gone. Damani, probably gone. Cooper and Russell, probably not gone. So let's just say worst case scenario. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys you're losing to graduation, or let's just say natural causes for these purposes. Just moving on to the next phase. 6. Let's just say those are seniors. You have 6 seniors exiting your team. 6. So, I mean, what is an average amount of seniors to leave a team? I don't know that number. Let's just say it's 17, 15, somewhere in there. It's never, the classes shrink as you move on. Well, historically they have with the transfer portal. That may change. But there's always more freshmen than sophomores, sophomores than juniors, juniors than seniors. Because players leave, transfer, move on, retire, whatever. Go pro. You don't have a lot of that this year. So there's always going to be players in, players out in college football. That's just how it is. So if you look at the transfers and them leaving as if naturally A&M has seniors leaving and you were going to lose 17 players anyway, if you can, control or manage how many of those portal guys actually leave, maybe the blow isn't as bad as it would have been if you also had 15 seniors leaving, because this team was damn young to begin with. And maybe that's part of why so many of these depth guys are leaving. I don't think these guys are all leaving because Jimbo lost the locker room or A&M has a problem, they can't win, they suck. I don't think that's why these guys are leaving. I think they're leaving because there's little to no opportunity for them because all the mainstays are freshmen. Everybody who was playing in front of them are not going to graduate before them. At best, they'll go pro as juniors, and these guys will get 1 or 2 shots in 3 years. And in this immediate gratification world, these guys were never going to probably see the field or stay. Now, that's a very positive A&M spin on things, but I'm trying to contextualize this in a way that makes sense. Because if it were all burning down, I think you'd see a lot more of the Shamar Stewarts, a lot more of the Walter Nolans, a lot more of the Evan Stewarts, a lot more of the Connor Wigmans. So let's take everything for what it is. These players, we're probably not going to see the field anytime soon, and they want to go play somewhere else. And Texas A&M had a damn lot of good players in the bottom end of their depth chart. So let's keep an eye out on this thing. The next part of this transfer portal era, this is the out part. This is the players leaving part. It's a 45-day period. And I don't really know how it works, only that you can officially enter the portal within this stretch. But at what point in that stretch do you start getting, is it commitments? Are we calling it commitments? I mean, is this just recruiting? I don't know. It's a whole new world. But at what point are we going to get commits in? Because Texas A&M does need to hit that linebacker area, that linebacker room, pretty damn aggressively with full force. You want to go at it. You're going to have to get a little bit more depth in your secondary, even though your main rotation guys are young and will be around for a while. You need people there. The O-line was pretty bad this last year. You're losing a couple bodies there, potentially more than you would hope if Layden goes pro. You probably want a couple extra bodies in there. Definitely need a running back or two, especially if you can't get Ruben Owens. Definitely need to get a couple of those guys. When do those names start rolling in, and what will those look like? Will A&M get some high-profile guys? I don't know. Do y'all have a wish list going? Do y'all have any specific transfers y'all are looking at? Grimes out of North Carolina looking pretty intriguing. Just declared for the portal. Was once an A&M target. He might be a guy we can go get. But I don't know. It's uncharted territory. All I can say is where we're at now, and I just spent about 15 minutes doing that. So why don't we go ahead and move on to other things in the world of Aggieland? I don't think I talked about this last time because I think it happened right after I made the last video. But McKinley Jackson coming back is absolutely huge. You get a senior leader on that defense, something that you can never have too much of. And you need more leaders, always. So that's a good guy to get back. That D-line is going to be stacked as ever. Jalen Jones going pro, a little surprising, but he has the profile. If you look at the numbers, he's one of the least targeted corners over the last couple of years, which is always a good thing. Maybe not a huge play guy, but a pretty big NFL-like body that could probably do a damn good job going pro now. OC search. Where are we at on that? So far, nothing concrete from the university. You hear the few names that have been circulating around, but I have a feeling whatever name it is, not going to be coming from a rumor or anything like that. I think it's just going to slap us in the face whenever it is. And here's my thing on the OC search. I'm pretty flexible about it. I'm pretty open to whoever you could get. I just think we need some fresh philosophies in there. I think obviously the key to everything is going to be how much of a step back is Jimbo Fisher going to take. I think more so than who they hire, Jimbo's involvement in the offense or lack thereof is going to be the crucial step that takes A&M's offense to the next level. I don't think Jimbo should be both the play caller and the CEO at the same time. I've said this many times, and I believe most of you also believe that. I think the bigger story here, or the more, it's not the bigger story, but the more impactful aspect of this story will be, is Jimbo willing to take that step back and become the CEO, navigate this NIL transfer portal era, navigate these personalities and the immediate gratification era that we're in. So I'm looking more at that, but the names, Riley, Dan Mullen still being tossed around, Longo out of North Carolina. These are the names that, the insiders will tell you, Billy Lucci and whoever else you consider an insider. Those are some of the consistent names. Kendall Briles. But nothing really coming from the university. This is all kind of speculation. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're just slapped out of left field with it. I think the most important thing is what Jimbo does. I obviously hope he gets somebody with a bigger name and a hotter track record. I mean, he doesn't have to have this history behind him, but I hope he has someone who's been trending upward pretty sharply recently, such that he can take the offense out of Jimbo's hands and just kind of run with it. So that's what we're really hoping for there. But besides that, all I really wanted to do today was highlight the portal, because it's portal week, and it seems like it's already been a full week since Conference Championship Saturday, which, as of the time I'm recording this, was only 3 days ago. A lot has happened since this transfer portal thing opened. 1,000 names in the hat. 1,000 names. What percent of that actually transfer? I don't know. That's going to be very intriguing to see because we're only in phase 1. Phase 2, like I said, when players start declaring. So what are your thoughts on the portal? Am I reading too much into it with this instant gratification era? Is that too harsh? Or am I onto something with that? And then, like I said earlier, what's your wish list? Who are you hoping for in this transfer portal? Any specific names or position groups? I mean, obviously linebacker. That's objective. We need linebackers. So go get those. And we probably need a couple running backs. Those are the 2 priority ones, 1A, 1B right there. I think it's safe to say 1 and 2. I think linebackers 1, running backs 2. But guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I'm really trying to build this base, get more Aggies in here, get more commenters. I want y'all to comment. And if you're an opposing fan base, talk your shit. Us Aggies will fight back. It'll be chaos in the comment section. I want that. We thrive in that environment. So bring it on. Thanks for listening, guys. Subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Gig 'em.